Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve. Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
An episode of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense, from 78 years ago, May 4th, 1944, Orson Welles, starring In the Dark Tower. And we thank you for tuning in on this Wednesday, Hump Day. You know what that means. It's the 124th day of 2022, 241 days remaining till we get to 2023. This is Dave Brubeck Day. Heard of the song Take 5? Boom, bop, ba da, boot up, boot up, ba da, boot up, 5-4. That's, yeah. Anyway, it was on this date in 1865, President Lincoln buried in Springfield, Illinois, 3 weeks after his assassination. Bomb thrown at policemen trying to break up a labor rally in Chicago in 1886. 8 people killed, 60 were wounded, and the police began firing into the crowd. Construction began on the Panama Canal on this date in 1904 by the United States. In Atlanta on this date in 1932, mobster Al Capone began serving an 11-year prison sentence for tax evasion. U.S. Marines from the Treasure Island Marine Barracks stopped a 2-day riot at Alcatraz Federal Prison on this date in 1946. Norman Mailer's first novel, The Naked and the Dead, published. The long-running soap opera Another World debuted on NBC in 1964. It would run 35 years until 1999. The Ohio National Guard, sent to Kent State University after the ROTC building was burned down, opened fire on students protesting the U.S. invasion of Cambodia in 1970.
There was a rally. Everybody met on the commons. And everybody just gathered around, organized. We just stood there, and all the kids wanted to do was have a talk, tell them what was going on, why, the whole bit.
The troops were formed in a circle on the practice field next to Taylor. They were shooting tear gas.
And it was orderly. No kids were out of hand. They just wanted to talk. The troops started throwing tear gas, and the kids were picking up and throwing them back at the cops. And they chased the kids over the hill.
People started throwing rocks, and all of a sudden they started kneeling. We knew they were going to shoot, so we started running.
The cops were boxed in. There was kids all around them. And all of a sudden, cops got trigger happy and shot kids.
And about 20 of them, the whole regiment kind of lowered their guns and opened fire, straight fire. Right, and they shot about 50 to 100 rounds, I'd say. It sounded like a machine gun going off.
4 students killed, 9 wounded on this date in 1970. Colonel Oliver North convicted on charges relating to the Iran-Contra affair on this date in 1989.
Colonel North has been convicted of 3 very serious felony charges: obstruction of Congress, altering and destroying official documents, and accepting an illegal gratuity. The jury has spoken after a long and difficult trial, and the principle that no man is above the law has been vindicated.
Now, North was indicted on 16 counts, but was only found guilty on 3, and he felt vindicated.
Today's verdict by the jury here in Washington is a partial vindication for what has been, for my family and me, a very long and difficult process.
And that conviction later overturned on the grounds that immunized testimony had been used at his trial. NASA launching Magellan, a robotic space probe from Space Shuttle Atlantis on this date in 1989.
Both of the solid rocket motor burns have successfully taken place. Magellan is on the proper path toward Venus, falling toward the sun.
It would be 15 months before Magellan would reach Venus to map the surface of the planet. A federal judge in Sacramento gave Unabomber Theodore Kaczynski 4 life sentences plus 30 years after he accepted a plea deal, sparing him from the death penalty. Washington Post reporting on this date in 2005 that Army investigators knew that former NFL player and Army Ranger Pat Tillman had been killed by friendly fire.
Pat was doing his job, and I don't even know what the Ranger motto is, but I'll bet you $1 he upheld it.
Tillman enlisted in the Army following the September 11 attacks in May of 2002. And it was in 2007, Greensburg, Kansas, completely destroyed by a 1.7-mile wide EF5 tornado, the first ever tornado to be rated EF5. Passing away on this date in history, Moe Howard of the Three Stooges, cartoonist Bob Clampett, also the wife of Robert Blake, Bobby Lee Bakey, Dom DeLuise, and the man who founded Stuart Tella Enterprises, created To Tell the Truth Password, The Price is Right for Goodson Todman, and created the $10,000 pyramid for his own company, Bob Stewart. This is the birth date of pro wrestler Dory Funk Sr., the father of Dory Funk Jr. and Terry Funk, who are both with us today and still portraying the art quite well. I think his dad would be very proud. Maynard Ferguson, such a wonderful trumpet player. Actress Audrey Hepburn. Tyrone Davis, the soul singer. Mr. Fuji, also the original king of surf guitar, Dick Dale. And Ashford and Simpson's Nicholas Ashford. The woman who wrote Get Here, Oleta Adams, 69. Actor-singer Pia Zadora, 68. Country musician Randy Travis is 63. From Arrested Development, Will Arnett, 52. Fox sportscaster Aaron Andrews, 44. And NSYNC's Lance Bass, 43. Those some of the people celebrating the 4th day of May is their birthday. And if this happens to be your birthday...
Hi, we're the 4 freshmen, and we just want to say... Happy birthday to you!
Radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense, The Dark Tower, starring Orson Welles from 78 years ago, May 4th, 1944. That's up next on this Wednesday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.
Hi, this is Kyle Horvath with the White Pine County Tourism and Recreation Board. If you want to get away from the big cities and get back to nature this summer, give us a call at 775-289-3720 or visit us online at elinevada.net. There's so much to do and see I can't mention it in 30 seconds, but check out our website and you'll see what Nevada is really all about. elinevada.net or follow us on Facebook or Instagram. Give us a call at 775-289-3720 or visit us online at elinevada.net.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
Now on this Wednesday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, we go back 78 years to May 4th, 1944. An episode of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense. Orson Welles starring in The Dark Tower.
Roma Wines present
Suspense.
Roma Wines, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world.
Salud.
Your health, senor. Roma Wines toast the world. The wine for your table is Roma Wine, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world.
This is the Man in Black, here to introduce this weekly half hour of Suspense. Tonight from Hollywood, we bring you Mr. Orson Welles. Mr. Welles will appear as star of the suspense drama called The Dark Tower, from the play by George S. Kaufman and the late Alexander Woollcott. And now with The Dark Tower, and with the performance of our star Orson Welles as that noted actor Damon Wellington, scion of the celebrated royal family of stage and screen, we again hope to keep you in suspense.
You dare
me a hand. Varlet, I will prove to the world there are no brains within that thick, Teutonic skull. I'll cleave it open like an overripe melon. Who thus profanes the rehearsal of my lines? Enter, if thou art man of woman born. I fear thee not.
Hello, Damon.
Ben Weston, you old son of a gun. I heard you were back from the coast. What news in the Rialto from that cesspool of the arts known as Hollywood? Have they turned my picture to the wall at the Brown Derby yet?
No, it's still there.
I despise myself for wanting to know, of course. It's marvelous to have you back, Ben, old boy. Seen Jessica yet?
Yes, I've seen her.
Isn't she looking fine? Feeling better than she has for years, I think. You got a great thing in this play, Ben. Changed quite a bit from the original, of course. Sort of a satire on the family. Perhaps it might be more dignified to say that the family is a satire on the play.
Yes, I heard about it.
For instance, those lines you heard me declaiming at the end, it actually happened to me once, you know. That German, what's his name, who directed Macbeth, he called me a ham. And I chased him out of the theater, and for 4 city blocks, in full costume, with a 2-edged sword.
Damon.
There's a little thing I like in the second act, too. Jessica asked me why I don't stop drinking, and I say, what? Would you have me subsist entirely on food and reach the gargantuan proportions of an Orson Welles? That ought to needle a boy wonder. Hey, Ben?
Damon, can't you stop clowning for a minute?
Of course I can. Oh, what a rogue and peasant slave.
Damon, please. Please be serious.
What's the matter, old man?
You know as well as I do what's the matter.
No, frankly, I can't say that I do. To me, the world looks rather well.
Does it? And Jessica feeling better than she has for years, is she?
Well, isn't she?
Of course not. How could she be?
And why shouldn't she be?
Damon, don't you realize there's been a murder?
Oh, to be sure, so there has, and a good thing, too, if you ask me. What of it?
What of it? Can't you see the thing is hanging over this house like a curse?
I hadn't noticed anything hanging over this house, profane or otherwise.
And what about Jessica?
Oh, I suppose it's bound to upset her a little, but she's really in fine shape, Ben. She's going to be marvelous in this play.
There's more at stake in this than a play, Damon. The thing has never been solved. Perhaps it never will be.
Perhaps that's just as well.
But Jessica can't remember, don't you understand, Damon? She can't remember.
Well, then, Jessica can't remember.
Listen to me, Damon. I wouldn't mind it if it was just that other people thought she might have done it, but they would do that anyway. But she does.
Oh, come on, Ben. I don't believe it.
I've talked to her, Damon. I know.
Oh, I
Damon,
see.
I love Jessica more than anything else in the world. You know that.
Yes, Ben, I do.
But this way, I couldn't.
You couldn't marry a murderess, huh? I just think it'd be rather exciting. Now that you mention it, I rather wish I had. Instead of some of those I did marry.
Damon.
I'm sorry. Pretty serious to you, isn't it, old man?
Did you think it wouldn't be?
Well, to tell you the truth, Ben, I hadn't thought about it at all. That's the trouble with being an actor. As long as your part's good, you don't give a hang about the rest of the play. Have you told Jessica?
Yes, we had a long talk.
How did she take it?
You know Jessica. She carried it off, of course.
Ben, you know, in spite of all our histrionic bickering, I'm rather nuts about Jessica myself.
I know you are, Damon.
I have no very fundamental objections to you, either. I would describe you, my dear Benjamin, as adequate.
Thanks.
So I think perhaps you and I'd better have a nice, long, heart-to-heart talk.
What good will talking do?
I think if you'll do the listening and let me do the talking, you'll see. Lend me your ears. I will a tale unfold. Jessica, as you know, had been in a sanitarium for nearly a year. She hadn't been on the stage in more than 2 years. The Dark Tower was to be her first attempt to work again. All that time. I know it isn't the greatest play in the world, but it has a surefire box office appeal. Jessica needed that to get her confidence back. Well, we were just polishing up a few last-minute changes here at the house. David Torrance, the producer, you know, he was there with us. And, of course, there are the usual little differences.
And another thing, Damon. When you kick me in the middle of the second act...
Where?
You know perfectly well where. Is it absolutely essential that you boot me halfway across the stage?
What do you want me to do? Pull my punches? That's one of the high spots in the show.
It may be a high spot to you, darling, but it's just a black and blue spot to me.
Very well. Henceforth, I shall appear for the second act on crutches. You know, Uncle David, that's not a bad idea.
Oh, now, Damon, let's be serious. There's a lot of work to do.
I'm quite serious. I could throw him at her.
You might try throwing me a cue once in a while. It's the use of having a play if you just make up the lines as you go along.
The critics thought my ad-libbing very witty, remember, dear?
Oh, Damon, you're such an insufferable ham.
A ham? A ham? Me? A ham?
Now, children, please.
I fail to see why I should permit that little minx to insult me with impunity, David.
How dare you speak to me that way?
You started it.
I did not.
You started. You called me a ham.
You are ham, ham, ham.
Minx, minx, minx!
Stop that brawling.
But soft. What light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Martha is the sun.
I quite agree.
What?
That you're a ham.
Gad, I am beset by harpies.
David, haven't you any control over these hirelings of yours?
Oh, I'm only the producer, my dear Martha. You at least are a member of the family.
And you at least can quit?
We're terribly sorry, Aunt Martha. We've been a nuisance, I know, and I apologize. Damon, I even apologize to you.
Don't be silly, Jim.
I've been much the worst, I know, but I've really been terribly keyed up working again, and you know, Ben is coming east for the opening.
Love rears its ugly head.
Don't be horrid, Damon.
It's all right. I couldn't even be angry if he was. Anyway, I'll have a husband to protect me by this time next week.
I can lick him with one hand tied behind me.
Damon, seriously, I know I owe you an awful lot.
Me?
I hadn't actually realized how far I'd gone. These last 6 months have been like coming alive again. The play and Ben. Thanks, Damon.
Good Lord.
Now I think I'll dress for dinner. Let's all go out to I'll get it. Aunt Martha, where would you like to go?
To a rest home.
Hello? Who? No. No, he's not here. He's not here, I tell you. He's dead.
Oh, darling, what is it?
It was for Stanley.
For Stanley?
Yes.
Never mind, darling, it's all right. Just some fool who didn't know.
Of course. Damon, you take David and Martha out to dinner, will you? I think I'll lie down for a little while.
Oh, come on, Jess. You mustn't let a little thing like that upset you.
I know, but I'm awfully tired. Please. Jessica!
You'd better leave her alone for a while, Martha.
Oh, I suppose so.
It was for Stanley Vance, the husband, huh?
Yes.
He's dead, you say?
You might as well tell him about it, Martha.
I was always for telling about it.
Well, you don't have to.
I'd rather. He was the cause of her breakdown, of course.
Should have been an actor. That's why Jessica married him.
She married him because he forced her to marry him. He controlled that girl's mind like some sort of fiendish hypnotist.
My dear Martha, I've always said that if Jessica was fool enough to marry a psychoanalyst...
Damon, stop playing the heartless brother. You saw what Stanley did to her.
I was in Hollywood.
Perhaps that's why Damon went to Hollywood, huh?
Well, what could one do? She was legally married to the man. She'd listen to no one but him.
Here's what happened, David. She went to this fellow to be psychoanalyzed, and in the process, something happened. I don't know what it was, but Vance acquired a power over Jessica's mind that was utterly inhuman. He married her, quite frankly, to have her support him. Then he found he'd overplayed his hand and sent her into a complete mental collapse. When he found he couldn't snap her out of it, and she was no longer a source of revenue to him, he simply decamped.
You say Vance is now dead?
We heard the happy news about 6 months ago. Some public benefactor had shot him. I've always meant to look that fella up.
From that very day, she began to get better. From the moment she heard the news, it was as though a spell had been lifted.
Now she's practically all well.
You know, it's odd at that, someone phoning for him after all these months.
Probably the sheriff just catching up.
Oh, I wonder who that could be.
Damon, you don't suppose...
I'll go. It may be a peasant with a petition.
Good evening.
My dear Martha, You are positively psychic. The Honorable Stanley Vance.
Thank you. I trust the shock will not be too great.
One knoweth not the place nor the hour when the bridegroom cometh, does one?
My luggage will be here shortly.
Listen to me, Stanley Vance.
Good evening, Martha. I regret to arrive so unceremoniously. I have been ill.
So we have been told. We have been assured, however, that your illness was fatal.
Damon, I thought Stanley.
Jessica, my poor, poor darling.
Stanley.
Oh, but you're ill, my dear, aren't you? You're ill. You should be resting. You're tired and exhausted, aren't you? Terribly, terribly tired.
Yes, I am tired.
Oh, great.
Terribly tired.
I'll take you up to your room, darling. I take it we still have the same room, Martha.
Listen to me, Stanley Vance.
The poor girl, you can see how weak she is.
If you think you're going to stay under this roof for a single minute, get out!
Very well.
Get out!
Very well, if you insist on being inhospitable, Martha. You'll pack your things, Jessica. We'll go to an hotel.
Yes. Yes, Stanley.
Jessica.
But I'm so tired. Will you help me, Stanley?
Of course I will, my dear. Come along.
Stanley.
Yes, Martha?
All right, Stanley. You win.
You're asking us to avail ourselves of your hospitality, Martha.
Yes, you can stay.
That's very sweet of you, Martha. Isn't it, darling?
Yes. Yes, Stanley.
From 78 years ago, May 4th, 1944, Suspense, The Dark Tower, starring Orson Welles. I'm Wyatt Cox, and when we continue, the news from that date, when Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox continues.
No offense, but are you a little fat when you look in the mirror? How would you like to learn the secrets to lose 3 to 5 pounds a week easily without joining the gym or going through any crazy diets? It's called Body Sculpt by Med Diet. For the last 2 decades, we've been helping people just like you that have pounds they want to shed. We've helped millions of people lose thousands and thousands of pounds over the years. And now it's your turn. Learn the secrets of how to lose weight with one simple phone call. You'll see an amazing difference in a matter of days. Don't believe us? We'll offer you a money-back guarantee. If you're ready to start losing weight right now, call right now to learn more about your risk-free order to Body Sculpt.
Call for your risk-free offer. 800-738-5332. 800-738-5332. 800-738-5332. That's 800-738-5332.
Are you in bad pain? You know what I mean. Your knees hurt. Your shoulder hurts. Your elbow and back are constantly killing you. And I'm sure you've tried every pain pill or cream available at the drugstore. Am I right? Well, here's something you haven't tried. Pain Magic. Pain Magic is not available at any drugstore. The only place you can get it is by calling the special toll-free number I'm about to give you.
And to make things even better, call right now and find out about our buy one, get one free offer. We're so confident it'll work for you that we offer a free bottle with your purchase. No prescription required.
Call now to learn how you can get Pain Magic and get rid of your pain. Remember, your results may vary.
800-492-8164. 800-492-8164. 800-492-8164. That's 800-492-8164.
Thank you for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox here on your favorite station. An episode of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense, on this Wednesday, as it was originally broadcast Thursday, May 4th, 1944. In the newspapers of that Thursday, 78 years ago, these were some of the headlines. In war news, British spokesman reveal air invasion of a seriously crippled railroad serving German defenses along French and Belgian coasts. Observers estimate Hitler has perhaps fewer than 700,000 men to meet the invasion. The Berlin radio begins gloomy chant about the looming struggle. Russians mark time on land fronts. Air Force bombs key points in Poland and Romania. In Asia, Allied chiefs optimistic over prospects in India and Burma, although Tokyo claims without confirmation 30,000 British troops have evacuated. Stilwell's troops continue dogged attack. North China armies yield before heavy Japanese attacks. And in the Pacific, MacArthur reports his planes and PT boats have sunk 1,700 Japanese ships and damaged 3,500 others in 2 years. Elmo Roper, the gentleman who predicted the popular presidential vote within 0.9% in 1936 and bettered that figure within 0.5% in 1940, says now the odds favor President Roosevelt for a fourth term, providing he runs for re-election. Mr. Roper, director of research for Fortune's Survey of Public Opinion in New York City, his unusually close predictions in the last 2 presidential elections are, as he says, his chief claim to fame. All meats except beefsteaks and beef roast were made ration-free at midnight last night, and Red Point values will not be restored to them again unless absolutely necessary. That from the Office of Price Administration yesterday in an unexpected announcement. The surprise move was at once a tremendous blow to black market operators and a bonanza to consumers, farmers, and harassed storekeepers, a number of whom had quit business because complicated bookkeeping and checking systems necessary under stringent rationing, as well as to housewives who have been hard put to make ends meet with the points available. The action revealed by Administrator Chester Bowles, who announced simultaneously that effective Sunday, the monthly allotment of red points will be cut from 60 to 30 per consumer because so many points will no longer be needed. Henceforth, red points will only be needed for beefsteaks, beef roasts, butter, margarine, cheese, cheese products, and evaporated milk. Wendell L. Wilkie, who has given no inkling of his future political intent since his dramatic withdrawal from the presidential race last month, is going out to the grassroots to ruminate. Sometime before May 15th, Wilkie plans to retire to his farms in Rush County, Indiana, there to listen to the tall grass grow and to cogitate. When he returns to New York around June 1st, those close to him indicate he may be ready to break the silence regarding his political action in the future that has enveloped him since the Wisconsin primary debacle. So far, nothing has tempted him to commit himself as to his course of action during the coming presidential election. Even an offer of $6,000 each for 3 articles on his future course in national affairs has failed to tempt him. In Anadarko, Oklahoma, doctors treated 15-month-old Kenneth Ray Poole, whose parents lived near the community, for intestinal influenza for 5 months when they finally discovered what really ailed the boy. He had swallowed a skeleton key. And for once, Walter Winchell scooped. The most unusual post-campaign statement ever came from a candidate for Florida House of Representatives, Mary Lou Baker. She admitted that she and her husband, Captain Seal H. Matthews, are infanticipating. Infanticipating. The blessed event, said Miss Baker, expected the last month of August. Those some of the day's top news stories as reported in the newspapers of Thursday, May 4th, 1944, on your radio Suspense. The conclusion next on this Wednesday, Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite station.
It's a big, bold story set in the heartland of America, along the edge of Lonely Mountain, and open for business. And so Big William Gorgon, played by handsome Michael James, fiercely set down his Midwest roots.
Oh, darling, we're going to sell bathrobes and raise chickens.
Set his adoring wife, Wilhelmina, portrayed by beautiful Glenda Olsen.
Oh, I love our store, Will.
But they hadn't counted on Big Ralph's bathrobes and cattle store coming to town.
Oh, Will, what will we do, Will?
Will had a plan, a way of facing off against tough Big Ralph. We're going to change the face of America. We're going to advertise.
Adver what?
With print, broadcasting, and bus benches, we're going to tell people who we are and where we are.
What's a bus?
And so the story of how one man brought advertising to the heartland.
Oh, will it work?
It will. Well, my name ain't Will, Wilhelmina. You got to advertise or we'll die. And so the greatest marketing story of all time is here. Advertise or die, dopey.
Put your message on this national advertising platform. Email classicradiotheater@gmail.com. classicradiotheater@gmail.com. We've aired a lot of the Willard Waterman Great Gildersleeves lately, so tomorrow on Classic Radio Theater, we will present Harold Perry as the original Great Gildersleeve from 76 years ago, May 5th, 1946. Gildy is in a rut. Gildy's overconfidence with Leela Ransom abruptly shattered by competition from a zany newspaper man. That's on Thursday's Classic Radio Theater, but let's wrap up this episode of Suspense from 78 years ago, May 4th, 1944, Orson Welles in the Dark Tower.
But somehow, someday, there'll be a time of reckoning for you, Stanley Vance. And until it comes, keep out of my sight.
The pleasure will be all mine. Come, darling. We'll go to our room now.
Yes, Stanley.
Damon.
Yes, my aged auntie.
Damon, what are we going to do?
I don't know what you're going to do, Ducky. But I'm going down to the Lambs Club and have a quadruple scotch and soda. You may think it heartless of me, but during the next few days I simply stayed away. I think you'll understand my reasons later. As for Jessica, she was, of course, completely in his power again, and about a week later there appeared upon the scene a gentleman who was destined to play a very substantial role in our little drama. I think you've already met him, at least on one occasion.
I'll get it, Jessica, darling. Hello? No, Mr. Damon Wellington isn't here. Can I take a message, please? Mr. Max Hartsfeld. Hartsfeld. I'll tell him you called, Mr. Hartsfeld. I really couldn't say. Well, you can come up and wait if you like, of course, but I can't promise he'll see you. Very well, goodbye. Jessica?
Yes, Stanley.
Do you know any friend of Damon's named Max Hartsfeld?
No, Stanley.
He seemed extremely eager to see him. He said he'd come up here and wait.
Oh, I see.
It's no matter. Tell me, darling, have you been feeling a little stronger these last few days?
Yes. I think perhaps I am, Stanley.
But of course you're not ready to go back on the stage again, are you, darling?
No. Of course not, Stanley.
Poor darling.
No more love, no more. Well, my little lovebirds. How are you two? How are you, Jessica?
A little stronger, I think. Am I a little stronger, Stanley?
Of course you are, my dear. Jessica, I think you'd better leave us now. There's something I want to talk over with Damon.
Yes, Stanley.
I'll see you again very shortly, darling.
Yes, Stanley.
Well, Damon, I've been wanting to talk to you for some time.
Really, I wish I could say the same.
I suppose you realize, Damon, that it's out of the question for Jessica to go on in the play in her present condition.
Kind of the point, William Vance. I have a pressing engagement with a pin-up girl, and I have got to change into my zoot suit.
No, seriously, Damon. I know that you somehow connect me with Jessica's condition.
By an odd coincidence, I do. What of it?
I know it would make you and everyone very happy if Jessica could go on in the play.
Aha, the light at last illuminates my addled wits, so it's a shakedown. A shakedown, is it, Stanley?
My dear Damon, I really don't know what you're talking about.
Look here, my larcenous in-law. I've been shaken down by experts on every conceivable count, including the man act in my time, and I can smell them a mile away. What you propose is that for certain financial considerations, you will leave this happy home, Jessica will recover, and she can go on in the play. The answer is no.
There won't be any play without her, Damon.
Are you suggesting that my name is not sufficient to draw the suckers? I can get a dozen people to play Jessica's part. Margaret O'Brien, Marjorie Main, Daisy, Agnes Moorehead. Makes no difference to me. Anybody at all.
Don't try to bluff me, Damon. After all this build-up, you won't dare go on without Jessica.
You little know me, Stinky. You may consider your little farce as having closed on opening night. As for Jessica, I'm very much afraid that she's made her bed, and now she'll have to lie in it. There's no cure for her short of murder with yourself as a victim, and I do not propose to put my neck in the hangman's noose. Good night.
I think you'll see things my way a little later, Damon.
Forbid. By the way, did I have any calls?
Oh, yes. Max Hartsfeld called.
Max
Said he was coming up here to
Hartsfeld.
wait for you.
Good heavens, when?
He's on his way now, I imagine.
Look, tell him I'm out. Will you? Going to Hollywood or something? Fella's been pestering me all week. Wants to buy into the show, and I simply don't want to see him.
Oh, he wants to buy into the show.
Yes, he does not share your lamentable lack of faith in my talent, Stanley, and he's dying to buy into the show.
Does he know Jessica won't be able to appear?
Of course he does, you idiot. Everybody does. Don't you read the trade papers? And now, good night, repulsive. I have other fish to fry. Toodaloo, flat top.
Jessica. Oh, Jessica, my dear.
I'm coming, Stanley.
Tell me, Jessica, The Dark Tower, the play you are going to appear in with Damon. You have an interest in it, don't you?
Yes. Yes, I think I do.
An equal interest with Damon.
With Damon, yes.
How much do you suppose that interest is worth, Jessica?
$100,000, I think.
$100,000, huh?
Yes, that was it.
Have you thought about what you're going to do with it now that you can't appear in the play yourself?
No, Stanley, I haven't.
You see, I'm not at all sure the play will be a success without you, Jessica.
I don't know, Stanley.
And so it might be wise to sell your share of it before it opens. Don't you agree, Jessica?
Yes. Yes, I do agree.
And Jessica, if I could find a buyer, and I think perhaps I can, it might be best if I were to handle the details for you. Don't you think?
Yes, Stanley. You handle it.
The fact of the matter is, there's a man coming up here this evening, a friend of Damon's, Max Hartsfeld. Do you remember I asked you about him?
Yes.
It won't be any trouble to you, darling. All you'll have to do is sign the necessary papers.
Excuse me. Is this the residence of Mr. Damon Wellington?
Mr. Hartsfeld.
Yes.
Oh, come in, please.
Thank you. Mr. Wellington is at home?
No, and we don't expect him, but he's discussed with me the reason for your visit, and I think perhaps you and I can reach a satisfactory agreement.
And you are?
Stanley Vance. I'm Miss Wellington's husband. This is my wife.
How do you do?
How do you do? I'm very glad.
Sit down, please, Mr. Hartsfeld. May I have your hat and coat?
Thank you.
And your gloves, please.
I'm sorry. It's eccentricity, perhaps. I always keep them on.
Oh. Now, Mr. Hartsfeld, Damon tells me that you wish to buy an interest in the new Wellington play, The Dark Tower.
Yes, I've been seeking an interview with Mr. Wellington.
Yes, so he's told me. However, Damon has very definitely made up his mind not to sell any part of his interest in the play.
You are sure of this, Mr. Vance?
Oh, yes, quite sure. I had a long talk with him about it only this evening.
See, I will not conceal from you that this is a source of great disappointment to me, Mr. Vance. I have such a deep admiration for the talents of Mr. Wellington. I've ventured in a few previous theatrical enterprises. Now, at last, I hope...
I quite understand your feelings, Mr. Hartsfeld, and I think that I may be able to help you.
Yes?
Yes. You see, Damon owns only half of the Wellington interest in the play. My wife, Miss Jessica Wellington, owns the other half. And we, if the offer were sufficiently attractive...
Indeed. You are willing to sell then, Miss Wellington?
Yes, whatever Stanley says.
Good. Then perhaps we should get down to detail, huh?
Yes, Mr. Vance. And Miss Wellington, I'm afraid you will think me very rude.
Not at all. What is it?
Since the talents of Miss Wellington's brother must be considered the very essence of our bargaining, and since you are acting as her agent in any event, I wonder if she would forgive me if I asked that you and I conclude this part of our business alone, Mr. Vance.
Oh, of course. Jessica will understand perfectly. Won't you, my dear?
Yes, Stanley.
Run along then, darling. I'll call you when we need you.
Yes, Stanley.
Now, Mr. Vance, I imagine you will wish to know a little more about the man with whom you are dealing. Here's my card. I'm staying at the Waldorf. I've written the room number on the card for you.
Oh, there's no need, really.
Yes. But before we discuss terms, there is one other thing.
Yeah?
I wonder... You do not know me, do you, Mr. Vance?
Know you?
You do not know why I've been looking forward with such pleasure to an interview with you. Alone.
I know.
It's very simple. It's very simple, really, Mr. Vance. It's just that I'm going to kill you.
To kill me? Really, Mr. Hartsfeld?
With these two hands. And before you die, I want you to know the reason. Jessica.
No.
So you see, Ben, there is your murderer, Mr. Max Hartsfeld. And I hope you're duly grateful to him. An elusive fellow, Hartsfeld. The police have been trying to find him for 2 weeks. They never will.
Left no fingerprints, you see. He always kept his gloves on. It's an eccentricity.
Damon.
An eccentricity.
Wait a minute. Do you mean you?
My dear Muttonhead.
Listen, darling, the whole thing's perfectly clear. It's as plain as the putty nose on Max Hartsfeld's face.
I still can't get it into my head.
Benjamin, if you don't know who Max Hartsfeld is by now, you are the only person within the sound of my voice who does not.
You mean you impersonated... Then it wasn't Jessica.
Jessica? She never could have done it. The girl has talent, but no genius.
But Damon, murder.
Murder, he says. Dear friend, you share with me a guilty secret. Your lips are sealed. Come. In the words of Hamlet, never, so help you mercy. Note that you know aught of me. Swear by my sword.
What?
Swear.
I swear.
Well said, old mole. Well, I think that winds up the case, Watson. Jessica will receive by registered post a signed confession by Max Hartsfeld, bound in vellum. That should end her worries. You may consider it as my wedding present. It will be a work not without literary merit, although written lefty. I should prefer it to be published posthumously. I look forward to a long and brilliant career in the theater. I should not care to terminate it abruptly upon so paltry a characterization as the late Max Hartsfeld. Music. Curtain.
And so closes The Dark Tower by Alexander Woolcott and George S. Kaufman, and starring Orson Welles. Tonight's tale of Suspense. Suspense is produced and directed by William Spear.
This is Orson Welles, ladies and gentlemen. Next week's Suspense will, as is its policy from time to time, do the unexpected in the way of casting. Because you're going to hear the country's leading comic juvenile, Mr. Eddie Bracken, as a dramatic actor. I look forward to hearing that. I know you do, too.
Insure your baby's future by insuring your country's future. Buy war bonds for your baby today.
Don't forget, then, next Thursday, same time, you will hear Eddie Bracken in Suspense.
Presented by Roma Wines. R-O-M-A. Made in California for enjoyment throughout the world.
From May 4th, 1944, Suspense on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. You can hear a lot of Suspense through Ted at RadioMemories.com. He has a lot of shows available on cassette, CD, or flash drive. Just go to RadioMemories.com. You'll find the shows sound great, and they are very inexpensive. RadioMemories.com. If you would please thank this radio station and support their advertisers, it is their kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every time we roll around here on this, your favorite radio station. And also, you can also find our programs available free of charge by going to iHeartRadio or Spotify or Spreaker, TuneIn, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Amazon, or Facebook just by searching Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. That's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. And of course, my webpage, classicradio.stream, where you can stream our shows on demand, learn more about classic radio collecting, and contact me. classicradio.stream. If you haven't checked out the Eden Pure special on their wonderful Thunderstorm air purifiers, I have one right next to me here in the studio, EdenPureDeals.com, promo code CLASSIC3. Have yourself a great day, won't you please? And please tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.